Well, you have to remember environmental litigation is very different now than it was back then. And Fred always believed in helping people that didn't have a voice. And his love was really helping neighborhoods. Not only did he do TCE, he did a nuclear radiation case in Pennsylvania, in Apollo. But going back to Tucson, which was where the TCE case, Fred basically put all of his resources, millions of dollars, with the understanding that he could have lost the case. These were people in a neighborhood who had their drinking water poisoned by a large aircraft manufacturer on the premise. And it took him about 10 years to litigate that case. And finally it was resolved through settlement. Well, Fred did. He was one of the founders of the Public Justice. It's now Public Justice. And I think what happened is he was, and he would call it, he was Naderized. He worked for Ralph Nader. He was a Nader's Raider. And he decided a long time ago that he wanted to help the poor. And what I really loved about Fred is early, we were married almost 30 years. His mantra was, you have to give back, because we're so blessed and we're so fortunate. And here are all these people in neighborhoods and people who are hurt all over the United States that don't have a voice. And the corporations kept getting more and more and more powerful. And so what he loved was he loved creating these groups to get lawyers in that cared about public justice and environmental causes. And toward the end of his career, he was actually president of the American Association for Justice, which was the American Trial Lawyers Association. Fred just felt that in asbestos litigation, it was unfair to turn it into a class action, because what that would have done is take away the rights of future victims, people that had not developed an asbestos disease, and they basically would have been left out in the cold. So Fred always cared first about the individual's rights. It didn't matter about what his fee was going to be. It was a system, and keeping the system alive for people that really needed justice. His whole career was about helping groups of people. When I met Fred in 1980, we married shortly after that, and he was working on a lead smelter case in Dallas affecting hundreds of the poor minority children in Dallas. When he settled the case, he created an after-school program. And after every settlement of every major case, he did something to give back to the community. And so it was really a win-win, and he loved helping people. And I think what he taught me was that people have a duty, trial lawyers, to make sure that you always put the victim first and to fight for whatever you need to make sure that their rights aren't taken away. And I think if Fred were alive today, I think he'd be terribly disappointed how the rich have gotten richer and how politics have become really a rich person's game. I think he'd be deeply moved by that. And I know at the end of his life, he loved politics. So he sort of went from law to politics. But that's what he would say to me. He'd say, Lisa, politics really matter in protecting the poor and the people that don't have a voice.